What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. We're here outside finally, not shooting in the garage at home. I figured to give the S2000 a nice clean. Anyways, we're gonna be talking about a topic that is probably my #1 question right now, is how much did I get the S2000 for? And I kind of want to tweak that question a little bit because I could just throw a number out there, but there's a couple things that I want to talk about in this particular S2000 that I got and compare it to what you could potentially get out there that's on the market. This is obviously in a range for what area you're in. I know a lot of my followers are not necessarily from the States, so it's a lot harder to get S2000s if you're not in America. Even if you are in the States, it's still pretty difficult to find a clean one. Mine unfortunately is not in the best condition, but that's kind of the purpose of why we got it, is to document us, kind of fixing it up and getting it back to OEM condition. If you guys are in California, then it's actually pretty easy to find one, depending if you're looking for an AP1 or an AP2, salvage title, clean title, what year, what color. If you guys aren't super picky about it, you could definitely find yourself an S2000. Here in the Bay Area, if you go on Craigslist, you could probably find at least 10. And if you go down to Southern California, there's a ton of other ones to look at as well. So, what are the topics we're going to be talking about today? Well, I'm going to tell you guys the flat price of how much I bought the S2000 for, and then a couple of the maintenance things that I had to pay for to get the car really running right, because it wasn't in the best condition mechanically when I first got it. It's still not amazing, but it's actually a pretty good car for how many miles it has on it. So we'll get into those two topics and then kind of reference off of this S2000 what I think is a good price for a year and how many miles the S2000 you're looking for has. Again, we're going to be using this as a reference card just so you guys can kind of bounce ideas and what you think a good price is for an S2000 that you're looking at. So right here we have a 2004 AP2 Honda S2000, of course, and there are a couple modifications done to it, but we're not going to get into modification price. Now, flat price of the S2000. I bought mine at a small dealership. This was the only one I could find in the area, and I was actually in need of a car, and I did not want to get anything else besides the S2000. So I ended up going with this one. Again, the body's not in the best condition, the car itself is not in the best condition, and considering on how many miles it has and the condition it is, I feel like I overpaid just a little bit, but again, I was kind of in a sticky situation where I had to get a car quick. So 2004 AP2, I bought this car for $9,000 after taxes from the dealership, and so that was smogged for 2 years. And of course, like I just said, it had the taxes included, or that price includes the tax, so $9,000 is what we picked it up for. The car had 184,000 miles, I want to say, when I first got it, completely stock, and it was in the condition it's pretty much in, besides of course the couple modifications here and there. So $9,000 for this condition. You guys can see the paint. It's pretty beat up. I know you guys can find a lot cleaner body S2000s, maybe an AP1 with around the same miles for around the same price. But again, the dealer wasn't really wanting to budge on the price, and so this is what we ended up with. Whoever owned it previously definitely did not know how to drive. I'm assuming it was probably an older person, not to discriminate, but from how nice the interior is and how well kept it was, versus just the outside of the car, every single wheel is curved, there's a ton of dents in it, and it looks like it was just left outside unattended. So that's the condition it's in, so you guys can kind of reference off of this car. Again, I got it for $9,000 out the door, 184,000 miles when I first picked it up. So now on to maintenance things, because this car was not running perfectly when I first got it. I wrote a list down. I should have brought my my receipts from all the maintenance stuff that was done to the car, so we'll kind of just go off of general numbers here, and it's going to be different from what area you're in, as well as if you do the things yourself or if you don't, because obviously labor cost is a huge factor in price. So first thing was first, we had to get all the fluids changed. We did a valve adjustment, and then we also did a pulley in the engine bay because there was that loud ticking, which later we found out was the TCT. But altogether, I believe that was around $1,200. Crazy price, but again, I don't do a ton of work myself on the car. I did the TCT myself, but everything else pretty much was done at a shop. There was, I think, 1 or 2 things that I'm missing that weren't super major, but they of course added on to the price. But the biggest one was the valve adjustment, getting all the fluids changed, because there was no service records on this car. From the last oil change, it was years ago, so we don't even know how well kept up this car was when the last clutch was done. Better safe than sorry. We ended up just, like I said, replacing all the fluids. We did the valve adjustment. We did a pulley. I don't even know what pulley it was, but they suggested that it would eliminate the noise. After some more research through ourselves and waiting for a few months, we found out that it was the TCT. So we went with the Ballad TCT. I believe that runs about $320. And again, we did the installation ourselves. We did not pay someone to do that. It took literally like 15-20 minutes to do. Super easy install, and that made a lot of the engine noises go away, as well as the major ticking noise that was the initial problem. So $1,200 there, and then another $320 for the TCT. After that, we had to get a new set of tires. The ones that were on were pretty bald, and I was driving the car in the middle of winter time when it was storming, so we did a full new set of tires. We have a hookup for tires, so we got a full set, about 90% tread, for about $400. We put those on, got an alignment done, and then the next thing we did was pads and rotors. Those ran us about $350 as well, if I remember correctly. So once the car had new tires, pads and brakes, and then we did most of the mechanical work. The car was driving pretty well, and then about, I want to say 8 to 10 months into driving the car, I think we were sitting at around 190,000 miles, the clutch just exploded. So we had to get a new clutch. We got that done at a shop as well with a new clutch and flywheel. They could not resurface the one that was in there, so we ended up spending, I think, $1,200 on a new clutch and flywheel, and the whole kit assembly plus the labor. So that went into it. That was an unfortunate series of events because we had to get it towed all the way from Santa Cruz all the way to San Jose, which is like 30 plus miles. So that was kind of a pain in the neck, but now that we have a new clutch in there, we should be good for some time. But yeah, that was all the maintenance done to it. Let's go ahead and tally up the exact amount roughly of what we spent for the maintenance to get this running correctly. So after adding everything up, we came out to $3,920, which is actually a pretty insane amount now that I add it up. This was, of course, over a year's time, and the car is 15 years old. 16 years old now. It is 16 years old at almost 200,000 miles. So considering, you know, it's an older car, the maintenance on it probably wasn't done properly. I guess that's a fair amount to justify for spending. But I mean, if you get a BMW or something, if you're trying to compare, you know, apples to oranges in that sense, it's really not that expensive. But I guess for a Honda, some people might think it is pretty expensive. This is also done with, I would say, 95% of the labor done at a shop. If you do it yourself, it's of course a lot cheaper. So just a reference, that's kind of a ballpark-ish number that we spent on the maintenance on the condition of this car. If you find an S2000 that's a lot cleaner, you're of course going to be spending so much less. So, you know, possibly spending more in the initial cost of the S2000 to find a clean one. It's probably more than likely going to save you in the long run. But just with my situation, this is what we had to go with. So now add on that $3,920 onto the $9,000 that we spent. We're sitting roughly around $13,000 for the maintenance and the cost of the car. So $13,000 for a 2004 AP2, clean title, and it's got almost 200,000 miles. You guys can kind of bounce around, find S2Ks, and, you know, compare them to this and see the condition of that one versus the condition of mine. Me personally, like I said, I think I paid just a little bit too much for this one at $9,000, but again, it's an AP2. I think a 2004 is actually a really good year. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. If I overpaid for the car, if I'm crazy for spending all the money on maintenance, let me know. With all that being said, this is day 4 of the quarantine series. Or is it day 5? This might be day 5 of the quarantine series. I'd have to check. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.